getting stronger!
Not getting stronger. I'm just using it with everything I've got.
You'll still lose! Impossible!
Concentrating my living energy into 1 minute and using it all. That's the noble art that I created. With all my strength, I will defeat all of yours!
In a world where your magical strength determines your worth, our protagonist Iki is nicknamed the worst one for his lack of talent. Despite not having the strongest magical talent, Iki is determined to become the strongest, so he decides to give the Seven Stars Battle Festival a try. In order to join this tournament, however, he must enroll in a magical academy and fight his way into it. Episode 1. Welcome to Chivalry of a Failed Knight. We're introduced as a red-haired girl named Stella Vermilion. The man watching the TV decides to cut it off and go outside for a change. During his run, the man thinks about how the stronger will always prevail. He thinks whether it's truly determined at birth how strong you can become. He remembers a moment when he was a child, being told to never give up on his dreams by an older fellow. The man introduces himself as Iki, an aspiring magical knight. After he finishes up his run upon arriving home, he sees the girl from the TV earlier, Stella Vermilion, in her underwear. After this event, Stella brings him to the principal's office to explain himself. When they arrive, however, instead of listening to their case, the principal explains the Seven-Star Battle Festival, a place to determine the strongest among all the schools. The principal tells Iki that they haven't had much luck in the past few years, and that he promised her to win a title, yet he's out here peeking on girls. Iki decides to take responsibility, so he apologizes to Stella, despite him not being in the wrong. Stella tells him she likes how he is taking responsibility. She'll forgive him as long as he commits suicide. Iki tells her all he did was see her in her underwear, so it's not a big deal. Stella doesn't take this comment lightly, so she attempts to burn Iki down along with the building. Stella continues to press Iki, telling him that he needs to pay for what he did, but stops when she hears Iki. Iki tells her that she was so beautiful that he couldn't take his eyes off her. Stella likes this comment, so she stops pressing him and calms down. The principal then comes into the room and tells them they are roommates starting today. They arrive to the shared dorm, and the principal explains to Stella that Iki is the lowest rank in the school. Despite being a royal princess, Stella is forced to live in the dorm alongside Iki. Stella proposes a few rules to Iki, one of them being no breathing. Iki protests her outrageous rules, but she persists, telling him not to come close to her. The principal proposes that they should do a mock duel to decide who gets to choose the rules of the room. Stella agrees, thinking because he is the lowest rank it will be an easy victory. Stella proposes that whoever loses must be the slave to the other one, do whatever they say. The principal agrees to these rules and guides the two of them to the duel stadium. Stella thinks it's going to be an easy victory. Remembering all of her training growing up, she promised her mom to be a strong magical knight, so she knows losing against Iki would put a dent in her plans. Before we continue, let's take a moment to answer the question of the day. What would you have done if you ran into a beauty like Stella undressing in your room? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out in the next video. Now, back to the recap. The principal talks to Iki, asking why he is revealing his power so soon. Iki tells her that he will have to beat Stella eventually, so why not now? Stella tells Iki that she heard the rumor of him being called the worst one, and how he didn't even qualify to take fighting classes. Iki tells her that thanks to his training, he is still strong. This ticks Stella off, remembering how hard she worked with hopes of being a magical knight. The principal initiates the battlefield, and Iki instantly pulls out his sword. Stella does as well, and decides to take the initial swing on him. Iki dodges or deflects all of her attacks, making the battle seem close. Stella notices during the fight that not only is he deflecting her attacks, he's keeping up with her. Iki tells her he acknowledges her technique, and that she worked hard, then rushes in. Stella realizes that Iki has stolen her attack style and used it back on her. Stella rushes in, thinking nothing of Iki's attack, but to her surprise, she is sliced at by Iki. Iki lands a clean hit, but it does no damage after Stella reveals she has a full body mana coat. She apologizes to Iki for having to win with her mana, casting a killer flame spell in the process. Iki, instead of running away, casts one of his spells, making him fast as lightning. Iki teleports around the battlefield, eventually reaching Stella and slicing through her mana armor. Iki faints in the process, having exerted more mana than he could handle. The principal announces that Iki is the victor. The principal explains Iki's ability to Stella, telling her that he is able to exert all of his mana in 1 minute. Stella asks the principal back why he is rank F when he is clearly strong. The principal explains that because Iki only excels at fighting, he doesn't rank properly in the school system. Principal tells Stella if she wants to become someone strong, then she should follow in Iki's footsteps. Upon arriving home, Stella notices Iki's muscles, so she decides to cop a feel. During this, Iki ends up flipping over to her, and Stella lands on top of him. Stella decides that it's okay for her to look at his abs, him having seen her in her underwear. After coping enough, Iki decides to stop Stella, surprising her enough to bang her head into the roof. After putting a band-aid on and treating her, Iki asks Stella if she's his servant now, having agreed to it before the duel. Iki asks her if he can do anything, and Stella takes it the wrong way, telling Iki he can do whatever he wants while calling him a pervert. Iki tells her he has her first order, to be his roommate. She agrees and offers Iki a fist bump instead of shaking his filthy hand. Episode 2. Introduced is a girl who thinks about her brother who was treated unfairly by his parents throughout their life. She decides to make a difference and bring joy to his life. Iki, on the other hand, has invited Stella to join him on a morning run, but realizes she can't keep up. Iki offers her his drink after noticing she has nothing to drink. Stella hesitates, saying it would be an indirect kiss, but when she notices Iki treating it not as a big deal, she drinks it. Iki tells her that today his sister will arrive after not seeing her for 4 years. Stella asks him if he's romantically involved with his sister, and he confirms he isn't. Iki attends his first class of the new year, attending a teacher named Yuri's class. As she continues to lecture the class, her appearance seems to worsen and worsen. Yuri tells her class that soon the first battles for the 7-Star Festival will be sent to them, so look out for their battles. She encourages everyone to at least give the festival a try, even though they can opt out if they want. She gets a little too excited in the process and shoots out a ton of blood. Iki and Stella visit her in the hospital and assure her that they will do well in the festival. Iki and Stella walk back to the dorm, but Iki is approached by a girl. She introduces herself as Kagami and tells Iki she witnessed how strong he was in the battle yesterday. She attempts to seduce Iki, but he realizes she doesn't compare to Stella, so he rushes over to her. This time, Iki is approached by another girl, introducing herself as Shizuku. She tells her brother it has been a long time since they've seen each other, and she goes in for a kiss. Stella questions what they are doing, being blood-related siblings, and Shizuku explains kissing as a greeting. Shizuku assures Iki that it's between them and other people shouldn't be intriguing. Stella stops Iki before he goes too far, and this angers Shizuku. Shizuku tells Stella that she has no relation to Iki, and that she needs to leave them alone. Stella tells Shizuku that Iki is her master, having lost to him in a duel. Stella tells them that once he became her master, the first thing he proposed was to sleep in the same bed. Iki denies it, having no clue who the handsome man in her imagination is. Shizuku decides that she is the only one allowed to flirt with her brother, so she summons her sword, preparing to fight Stella for Iki. The two girls call each other names and try to fight. They are caught and put to work by the principal, being forced to clean the bathrooms. The two girls clean all of the bathrooms, calling each other names while doing so. Eventually, after 27 bathrooms, the two gain some chemistry and are able to hold a conversation. Stella asks Shizuku why she has the right to Iki even if she is family. Shizuku tells Stella that she wouldn't understand Iki's grief, telling her that their family treated him like he didn't exist. Realizing she said too much, Shizuku leaves Stella to wonder what she meant by that. Stella is approached by Iki. She decides to ask the source. Iki tells her that now is a good time to tell her about his past, telling it's a bit of a depressing story. He starts by asking if she knows who the samurai Ryuma is. Stella tells him all about the samurai, eventually realizing that he is Iki's grandfather. Iki tells the story of how he had no skills for the sword growing up and was treated as an outcast. One day when Iki was outside, there was a severe snowstorm that almost killed him. Before he perished in the storm, Iki was approached by Ryuma the samurai, giving him words of encouragement not to give up. After being saved by the samurai and hearing his words, Iki decided he wanted to live like him. Iki tells her that he has always been practicing alone since that time, honing his skills. Iki tells Stella that the reason he is so low rank is because his family is forcing the school not to let him graduate. Iki tells Stella that with the new principal, he might have a chance at graduating. The two continue to talk, eventually agreeing to work harder from now on. Shizuku, on the other hand, tells the story of Iki to her new roommate, Alice. After hearing her story, Alice deduces that Shizuku doesn't like other people because of how her brother was treated. Alice assures her that he will always listen to whatever problem she has. Later that night, Stella decides to walk in on Iki bathing. She walks into the scene in a bikini, offering to clean Iki's body for him. After Iki attempts to decline, hoping to be nice, Stella gets mad thinking he doesn't like her. She cleans Iki and he sits back and watches joyfully. Episode 3. The next morning, Iki and Stella train outside the dorm, both gaining experience. Iki asks Stella if she has received her first opponent for the festival yet. She tells him she has. Iki attempts to tell her about who she is fighting, but she stops him, saying she likes to go into the fight without any knowledge of them. The bell rings and Iki tells her it's time to go to class, but he is stopped by Stella. She tells him that the next day is Saturday and asks if he would like to go on a date. Before she can finish, Iki receives a text from Shizuku asking if he wants to go shopping the next day. Upon arriving to meet up with Shizuku, Iki realizes that they aren't the only two there. He greets Shizuku's roommate Alice and tells Stella to stop bugging Shizuku. They head onto a train that takes them deep within the city. Stella walks around taking notice of the stores until she sees Iki and Shizuku holding hands. She questions what they are doing and asks if she can hold his hand as well. Shizuku tells Stella that she is his servant, so she shouldn't hold his hand, and then tells her she is a princess, unrelated to Iki. Shizuku asks Stella why she needs to hold his hand if she isn't family and asks if she likes him. Stella gets embarrassed, but it becomes normal again after eating a delicious crepe. Iki notices a piece of cream on Shizuku's face, so he takes it off and eats it. Stella notices this, then smears the cream all over her face and asks Iki if she has any on her face. Iki laughs at her and offers to get a paper towel instead of cleaning it himself. While Iki and Alice use the bathroom, a group of thugs is seen infiltrating the security room, oblivious to what will happen. Iki thanks Alice for being so nice to his sister. Alice notices what's going on and hides along with Iki. Thugs walk into the restroom and light up the entire room, leaving no chance for survival. Iki and Alice emerge from a portal, and Alice decides to show off his power. He wields the power to control shadows, whether it's teleporting or hiding within them. The two of them begin to take control of the mall, securing the security room first. Iki decides to call the principal, alerting her of the situation while asking what their goal is. She reveals that the criminals are demanding ransom for the people captured. Iki thanks her and decides to take matters into his own hands, knowing the police can't help. Shizuku and Stella, however, appear to be caught by the thugs. A small child throws his ice cream at the thug, and this angers him to the point where he tries to shoot them. Stella steps in and withstands all of the bullets, forcing the thug's own blazer to emerge. The thug leader introduces himself as Bisho, and he yells at his grunt for attempting to kill a hostage. He approaches the grunt and tells him he is in the right. Then he points his gun at the mother. Stella jumps in the fight to stop him, but realizes it was a trap to lure her in. Bisho blocks her initial attack, then launches a counterattack, immobilizing her. He reveals that his ring not only blocks all incoming attacks, but also reflects them back onto the attacker, making him invincible. Stella asks what his goal is, so he tells her to strip down and beg him to spare her. Stella agrees. Hoping to save all of the people, she goes down to her underwear. Bisho tells her that it's not enough, and she has one more layer to go. Iki attempts to rush in to stop her, but Alice binds his shadow. Alice tells him to wait for Shizuku to finish casting her spell, then he can move in. Shizuku puts up the spell, protecting the civilians and giving Iki a chance to run in. Iki activates his full strength and rushes in for the kill on Bisho. Bisho is unable to absorb the incoming attack, being too fast for him to see, and gets his hand sliced in the process. Bisho attempts to command his grunts to stop them, but he realizes Stella has taken them all out. After the fight is over, Iki rushes to Stella's side, telling her he is glad she is okay. Shizuku tells Stella she did good, but she is interrupted by one of the grunts still alive with a hostage. Instantly, an attack comes from behind, rendering the hostage holder immobile. A man emerges and introduces himself as Kirihara, telling Iki it's been a while since they've seen each other. Iki goes over and talks to him after the battle, thanking him for saving him. Kirihara asks Iki if he is still trying to be a magical knight, despite his weak ability. Stella overhears this and protests him, telling Kirihara that Iki is way out of his league. Kirihara laughs and tells Stella to tell her the truth of their last battle. Kirihara reveals that in their last fight, he ran away like a coward. Kirihara tells him to check his phone, revealing Kirihara is Iki's first opponent in the 7-Star Festival. Episode 4. The next day, Kagami approaches the group, congratulating them for doing such a good job at stopping the criminals. Alice asks her if she likes to gossip, and the two bond instantly. Iki, on the other hand, watches Kirihara's past matches, witnessing him smack a girl around. It is revealed Kirihara uses an ability called Aria Invisible. This lets him send invisible slashes to anything within range of his area. Iki tells Stella that while his nickname is the Worst One, Kirihara's name is the Hunter. Stella asks him if he will be okay, and Iki assures her he will win. During his run the next day, Iki thinks about his upcoming match, but is stopped by Alice. He asks if there was bloodshed between him and Kirihara last year. Iki thinks back on the moment when Kirihara first approached him, asking for a duel. Iki attempted to refuse, but he was shot in the back by Kirihara, giving him no chance to fight back. Iki tells Alice that last year he didn't resist at all against Kirihara, knowing he was already close to being expelled. Iki tells him that no matter how many years it takes him to graduate, he will one day. Alice begins to tell him that he tolerates too much, and that he should be more proud of himself. Iki tells Alice that he doesn't understand why he needs to smile after being told to. Alice tells him that one day someone will notice his grieving heart. Iki arrives at the stadium for his match, but is approached by a girl. She introduces herself as Nene, the demon princess and top fighter for the KOK League. Iki asks her what she is doing there until she reveals her intentions, grabbing onto Iki. The principal approaches and breaks up their moment, asking Nene who will commentate if messes around with Iki. Iki is eventually given some space, so he takes a moment to prepare himself. Before his fight starts, he gets blurry vision and realizes he's more nervous than he thought he'd be. The announcer introduces the two fighters, Iki and Kirihara, calling Iki the worst one. Kirihara starts the battle by summoning his forest, rendering himself invisible. Iki stands amidst it all and blocks the incoming attacks, eventually gaining Kirihara's location and rushing him. Kirihara shows that he isn't just all talk, reflecting Iki's incoming attacks. Kirihara tells Iki that he's tired of messing around and that he will get serious. Kirihara calls out to Iki where he is going to strike him, shooting too fast for Iki to react. Iki continues to get hit by Kirihara's invisible attacks, making the battle seem over. Stella asks Shizuku if he has a chance of winning, to which she tells him it's Iki's style to read the opponent first. Alice tells Stella that he could also be doing poorly because he's nervous. Stella realizes that Iki is fighting for more than just the victory, with his graduation being impossible unless he wins this game. Kirihara reveals to the stadium that the only way for Iki to win would be by winning the whole festival. The stadium begins laughing at Iki, knowing a rank F could never win the fight. Iki lets it get to him and is hit in the back by Kirihara, rendering him immobilized. Kirihara begins chanting, "Worst one," and the stadium joins him. Stella doesn't put up with this, however, screaming out and telling everyone how much Iki has helped her. Iki hears her calls and stands back up, preparing to fight Kirihara. Iki enters his full power mode. To Kirihara's surprise, his previously 100% accurate attack is blocked. Kirihara realizes that Iki has powered up, so he starts sending in more arrows, hoping to finish the battle. Iki continues to deflect all of the incoming attacks, eventually finding out Kirihara's location. Nene starts laughing and reveals that Iki was able to steal Kirihara's sword style, much like how he did with Stella. Iki activates his perfect vision and starts to rush towards Kirihara, hoping to finish the battle. Kirihara screams, telling him not to hurt him while running away. Iki breaks through all of the incoming attacks and charges towards Kirihara, scaring him to the point of fainting. With Kirihara out cold, Iki is announced as the victor of the battle, earning him the right to the next fight. Iki looks over at Stella and smiles, but passes out himself, having exerted all his mana. Later that day, Iki wakes up to see Stella laying on his lap, making sure he's okay. Eventually, Stella wakes up as well, shouting at Iki for watching her sleep. Iki then decides to tell Stella his true feelings, confessing his love for her. Stella asks him why he is suddenly telling her all of this, until she tells him to close his eyes. Iki agrees, and Stella moves in for a kiss on his cheek. Stella tells Iki that she likes him as well, telling him she is feeling pushy today. Iki tells Stella that they should both fight to make it to the end of the festival and face off against each other in the final fight. Episode 5. A couple weeks after they confessed to each other and became lovers, Stella is seen training alone and angry that Iki hasn't made a move on her yet. While that's happening, Iki has a match where Kagami witnesses his sword skills, so she asks to learn from him. She reports that Ik is no longer the worst one, but rather another one. Yuri walks into class but is stopped once her nose starts bleeding again. Stella, on the other hand, asks Iki why he is deciding to teach the girls the sword. Iki tells them that they could be in a situation like how they were, and knowing self-defense is always good. Stella asks Iki now that they have been dating for a couple of weeks if they can do something more romantic, but Iki falls asleep listening to her. The next day, Iki starts his class of training the girls how to use a sword. He explains how he uses ancient martial arts methods. He stops once approached by some classmates. They call him a failure of an upperclassman and draw their swords, initiating a fight. They all rush him and attempt to overpower him, but Iki stops all of them without even summoning his sword. After beating all of the grunts up, they get on their knees and apologize. They tell Iki that they are envious of his strength and want to learn from him. Iki agrees to train them and begins their training by assessing their balance. Having seen Iki take on the thugs, a group of girls come and ask Iki if they can join in as well. Stella comes the next day and notices that he has gained a lot of new members in his class. Stella tries to offer Iki something to drink, but Shizuki comes in the nick of time, offering him her own drink. While drinking it, Shizuku tells Stella that she may or may not have licked the tip of it. Shizuku notices that Stella is standing around with 2 water bottles, so she asks who the second one is for. Stella, too proud to admit she got one for Iki, chugs both of them. Shizuku asks Iki to teach her how to use a sword. Of course, Stella asks to join in as well. He tells her that she is too advanced with the sword, causing Stella to run off a little mad. As she's walking away, Alice approaches her asking if she has seen Shizuku. Stella notices him holding a game in his hands and asks what it's about, so he offers to lend it to her. Once arriving home, Stella loads up the game and proceeds to dive further into the love story within the game. She eventually finds herself thinking about what's happening in the game with Iki and freaks out when he approaches her. He tells Stella that he wants her to come with him to tomorrow's class at the pool. After inviting her, Iki tells Stella that she is too strong and their techniques are too different for him to properly teach her. The group eventually arrives at the pool and all the girls show off their bathing suits. A group of men watch Iki with envy, wishing they could be as good with the ladies as he is. Iki eventually starts the class telling all of the members to practice in the water. Stella doesn't participate in the class, but rather sits around watching and wishing Iki would talk to her. She overhears one of his lessons and decides to practice it while submerged under the water. As she continues to focus, she sinks deeper and deeper until she overhears Kagami ask her how far her and Iki have gone. Stella denies that she is dating him, saying there's no way a princess could date a commoner. Kagami decides to then prompt her into confessing by asking if she can date Iki. Stella folds and tells her they are dating, but tells her that they haven't done anything with each other yet. Kagami asks Stella why they haven't even kissed yet, urging her to make a move. Later on, Shizuku asks Alice what his opinion on her loving her own brother. Alice tells her it's a little weird, but he respects it as long as it's true love. Stella talks to Kagami and tells her that despite her being a princess, she wishes that Iki would make a move on her. Alice does the same and assures Shizuku that as long as she puts in the effort, Iki will see her. Kagami tells Stella that all she needs to do is open up to Iki and tell him what she wants. Kagami offers to go grab Iki right now so that they can talk it over. Iki arrives and Stella asks what he thinks of her bikini. Instead of looking at her lustfully, he looks away, making Stella a bit sad. Iki tells Stella that maybe they should rethink their relationship after not doing anything together for 2 weeks. Stella begins to tear up thinking that their relationship is over, telling Iki that she knew he would prefer Shizuku. Iki attempts to stop her from going out of control, but he is slapped by Stella. Iki asks her why she hates him, but Stella tells him he is the one who is hating on her. Iki tells her that she likes her the most, but Stella refuses, saying she loves him the most. Continue to argue until they eventually realize that they both want to be closer and are arguing over nothing. Iki proposes to Stella that they both say what they want to do, to which they both tell each other they want to kiss. Iki goes in and decides to finally be the man in the relationship, initiating the kiss. To kiss then, while on their bus ride home, they receive a text from the principal telling them their next opponents. It is revealed they will be fighting members of the student council in their upcoming fights. Episode 6. A few days later, Iki engages in battle with the student council member. Though she holds super speed, making it impossible for Iki to follow her, he will emerge victorious. Stella, on the other hand, is fighting a student council member that wields a large axe. Stella and Iki both win against the student council members, making them move on to the next battle. After their battle is over, Stella and Iki walk back to their dorm. Shizuku approaches and asks her brother if he needs any treatment, having just fought a difficult opponent. Alice approaches and asks Iki how long he's going to let that girl follow him. Stella and Shizuku both cower down, thinking it's a stalker. Iki decides to confront her, asking what she is doing and stalking him. He tells Iki it's not what it looks like, then attempts to run away. Instead of escaping, however, she runs into the river, causing the group to help her. After waking up in the hospital, she thanks them for helping her and introduces herself as Ayase. Iki notices her last name relating to someone he knows, so he asks her if she knows Kaito. Ayase tells Iki that he is her father. Shizuku explains to the others that Kaito was a renowned swordsman. Iki asks her a bunch of questions about her father, eventually asking how he's been lately, to which Ayase reveals he's in the hospital. Stella gets tired of their flirting and asks why she was stalking Iki. Ayase tells the group that she saw Iki's technique one day and has been wanting to learn more about it since. Iki proposes that, instead of her stalking him, she can join his swordsman lesson. The next day, Iki duels her, hoping to get an assessment of her skills before teaching her anything. He stops her in the middle of the duel and tells her that because she is imitating her father, she is holding herself back. He explains that because she is a girl, imitating her father's skills won't work as well because of their genders. Iki proposes to teach her an alternative method that could make her stronger, goes in and cops a feel on her legs, making sure to make the most of his training. As he rubs up and down, Iki tells her to focus carefully on tightening her muscles and changing her stance. Ayase sweats excessively while everyone else watches Iki grope her legs. He tells her he is done and asks her to try out fighting him again. Ayase moves in and shows much more speed in her strike, showing that Iki's training wasn't just for show. Later that day, Iki apologizes to Ayase, but she tells him she liked it, him having big, rigid hands like her father. Ayase sees the others over here, so she tries to explain to them that she doesn't like him or anything. Stella asks Shizuku if she is okay with Iki talking to another girl like that, to which she tells her as long as Iki is happy she is. Ayase tells Iki that she is happy to be trained by him, or wanting to get stronger. Later that night, Stella asks Iki how it felt touching Ayase's body all day. Iki assures her that she just wanted to make her stronger, telling her she is the only person he truly loves. The next day, Stella duels Ayase, hoping to prove she is more fit for Iki. After their fight, Iki decides to take the two girls out for some dinner. Ayase thanks Iki for training her the past few days, telling him that she is gradually getting closer to reaching her father's strength. During their conversation, a group of thugs approach Ayase, asking what she's up to. Iki notices that Ayase doesn't like their company, and he tells them to buzz off. The boss of the group apologizes to Iki and offers him a drink. Iki accepts it, but when he goes to take a sip, the thug smashes the bottle on his head. Stella tells the thug that she will kill him if he does anything more, but Iki stops her. Iki tells the thugs that it must have been a simple mistake and lets them off the hook. The boss of the thugs tells his grunts it would be degrading to fight such a weakling. Stella asks him why he didn't fight back, to which Iki explains he could get expelled for fighting back. He also tells Stella that guy wasn't some pushover either. Suddenly, someone joins their conversation, explaining the leader of the thugs, Kuraudo, the Sword Eater. Not only is he the ace of a rival school, he is also a known thug that picks on anyone who stands out. Random explains that Iki made the right decision not fighting him, telling them that Kuraudo was in the top 8 for last year's battle festival. On their way home, Stella asks Ayase who those people are and why they bug her. Before she answers, they all get a text, and it is revealed that Iki's next opponent is Ayase. Ayase then runs away and doesn't come to the training the next day. He meets with Alice and asks him how he can beat Ayase and still be friends with her. Alice tells him that if she can't take him beating her, then they should end their friendship.